All right. Hey,
And we're
Chris.
live.
We're live.
The live button gets real. You see it. And
Right?
the heart rate jumps up a little bit. Adrenaline's a little bit higher.
Yes, we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Keeping You Wise by Keeping It Real, where we bring authentic and real conversations to fuel your soul that you can share with others. My
Yes.
name is Paula Bell, and I'm here with my co-host, your boy Solo, Chris Solomon. How you doing, Chris? How you
Another day in
doing?
paradise. Another day in paradise, Paula. I appreciate being here. This is best part of my day.
Right? Where we just get to kind of digest and decompress from the day and just be us for a little bit, right?
Yeah, right. You wear
Well,
so many hats and so many masks.
right.
It's good just to be able to keep it real, to your
For
point earlier.
real. For real. Right, right. So this is our first time doing this together. And so it's probably good if we introduce ourselves and just tell people a little bit about us. So I can kick it off. My name
Cool.
again is Paula Bell. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, with Barbados roots. I am a certified master life coach, life purpose coach, goal success coach, happiness life coach, diversity and inclusion manager coach, and a business analyst certified professional. I'm a domestic and international speaker. I've spoken on a wide array of topics such as business analysis, project management, leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion, self improvement, and career development. I own my own consulting business and I love to inspire, motivate, and encourage others because I've learned painfully that words have power and they
Mm.
will either cut you or they will sharpen you. So I intentionally use my words and actions to help uplift as many people as I can. But enough about me, Chris. Why don't you tell people about you and why we created this video cast?
Paula, first off, just hearing your intro just always gets me excited. Like that was a laundry list of awesome things right there.
Aw.
I forgot I was gonna have to follow that. I'll tell you this.
All right.
First, my name is Chris Solomon. People call me Solo. My friends call me Solo, and I would hope that my friends would be the ones watching our stream so you can call me Solo. With that being said, I am America's last living dragon hunter. Paul, have you ever seen a
Really?
real? Have you ever seen a real dragon in your home state?
No,
Yeah,
I
you're
have not.
welcome. You're welcome. So it's not as illustrious as all of those wonderful topics, but it's
Okay.
pretty cool, right? But
All right.
I wear a lot of hats too. I would say I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a leader, I'm a child of God, and ultimately
Mm,
I have a calling to inspire, to motivate, and to develop others. And I really got bit by the leadership bug a long time ago, right? And spent the
right.
better part of my life in people development, leadership development, and asking questions like, how can I bring value to the people that are under my stewardship? How can I bring value to the people in my sphere of influence? How may I serve? And it's a difficult thing trying to help others actualize their potential, get people faster, stronger, more capable, confident, etc. And we started the podcast because we have similar passions. Just to be fully transparent with our audience, Paula was one of the people that inspired me and mentored me when that leadership bug wasn't fully developed, when it was more of a seed than a tree. And when you have a passion and a like-minded individual like Paula in your life, and she says, you know what? We should start a podcast because there's a lot of folks that talk about this personal development and people development, but the authenticity piece and the keeping it real piece is missing. And you have to say yes. So we're not here to have a toxic positivity or get rich or better quick scheme, give you any winks or shortcuts. We're here to just have an authentic conversation, to give you a step by step, one hard thing at a time on how you could be a better version of yourself and how hopefully that better version of you could make everyone around you, everything around you just a little bit better.
Wow, I love it. That's a great way to a great segue actually to just kick into what we're here about. But before we do that, I have to give some disclaimers, because being a life coach, I've got to give these disclaimers. Like
All
we
right.
are not therapists. We do not offer medical advice. We might advise that you would benefit from a medical practitioner or professional in that area, but we are definitely not therapists. We are not trained to or qualified or able to diagnose or treat any form of mental illness or disorder. And I just want to make you aware that some topics we may have on this podcast may be triggering.
Mm,
So, the purpose of this podcast is to have real and authentic conversation that provides wisdom to all and different perspectives. And so, we want to make sure that you protect yourself, protect your energy, protect your mind. Do interact with us via chat. We would love to hear your comments. And if you have questions, post them. If you're watching us on YouTube, we have 2 YouTube channels that this is going out to right now. There'll be some more other platforms we'll be pushing it out to. Definitely comment and post those questions as we'll be watching them come in. Now, these episodes, we're going to try and keep them to about 30 minutes, max 45. We don't want to keep you on here forever. People
right.
tend to lose attention span, but these are real laid back segments where we are just open, honest, authentic, real conversations. So we plan to air these monthly. Chris and I are gonna get into a rhythm here and air these
Mhm.
monthly. We also hope to have guest speakers that will come on here and talk about a wide array of topics. Just make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you know when we go live, and you'll get notifications as well. We have 3 channels that we definitely want you to subscribe to. Keeping You Wise by Keeping It Real. That's the podcast. So you definitely want to subscribe to that one. The BA Martial Artist is my personal YouTube channel. And then Your Boy Solo is also a YouTube channel. And I'll make sure I put those channels in the notes as well when this goes up. But enough about that. Let's jump right in. So, Chris, our first episode. Why don't you tell everybody what we're going to talk about today?
So they say that I started from the bottom, now I'm here. And a lot of the times you hear that from folks who are here, i.e., at the top. But I think we should start from the bottom. So our
Mm,
topic today is from hurt to healing. I think all of us in our life have been in a place, may be in a place now where we're hurt. We're holding on to past thought processes or hurts that are holding us in a holding pattern of where we are. And I think before we could talk about keeping anybody wise, we got to keep it real and let you guys know that to get to healing, to get to the top, you have to start from the bottom. And a lot of the times that starts with hurt. So our topic for today, which I thought was super appropriate, Paula, so thank you for suggesting it, is from hurt to healing.
whew, okay. So, this going to be some interesting vulnerability, isn't it? No?
Yeah,
Whew.
the first topic being super vulnerable, which I think it was wise what you said earlier in regards to some of these topics may be triggering.
Mm,
This is going to be vulnerable, and anytime you're vulnerable, it's scary. Anytime you talk about things that push you outside of your comfort zone, it's uncomfortable, but that's where the growth is. Like, unfortunately, there's no comfort in the growth zone, and there's no growth in the comfort zone. So if you feel triggered, if you feel a little uncomfortable, if you feel a little vulnerable, it's probably right where you need to be if it is your intention to be better than you are today or were yesterday. So if you're feeling that
mm.
feeling right now, feeling a little uncomfortable, a little scared to put what your question may be in the chat, do it, because you proving to yourself that you're able to be comfortable being uncomfortable is, in my opinion, the first step of your growth.
Whew, okay. Yes, sir. So let's talk a little bit about our hurts, huh? Why don't we get it started? So, hurt to healing. So I've experienced a lot of hurt in my life from childhood up until now. And it's been very interesting going through the process of healing, especially when you're hurt from somebody that you're really close to, or that really you thought really had your back, really had your supported you, and they didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
some people know my story, some people don't. It's not something I share broadly, but there become a part in my life where when I was in college, where I tried to end it all a few times because I didn't deal with some of the hurts that I had when I from childhood up. It was when you take those things and you internalize them, and you don't deal with it. You don't let it out. It festers, it festers, it festers. And then at some point you explode, or you give
Yeah.
in, or you give up. And it's interesting to me where people will say, people are smiling and they look like they're doing great and whatnot. And then you find out that they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
And, people have their own opinions about that, but you just really never know what a person's going through.
Yeah.
And so when I got to that stage where I was going through my own demise there, where I was like, I don't have any self-worth, I'm not worthy of being here, I don't know why I'm here, I was in this really dark place. It's interesting you brought up growing, having a strong faith, because that's how I grew up. I grew up in the church. I grew up in just around that environment. And that's the thing that pulled me back, because it was actually a church service.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually Donnie McClurkin who
Was it?
who ministered to me. And he actually called me out from the audience, and he had somebody next to me just put he said, you need to put your hand on her stomach. And when they did that, I just bent over and stuff just started breaking up. And
Really?
so that was like my release, right? And it was sort of like that started the road for me to recovery, where I had to actually really do some self introspection and self reflection, and really deal with some of the things that I just didn't want to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to hide away from. And actually, sometimes the hardest person to look at in the mirror is yourself, right? Because you see stuff, you're like, this isn't what I really want. But it's so needed. It's something that's needed to happen. It's intentional. So it was really, that was a real turning point for me, where I had to kind of get to the bottom, like you said, get to the bottom, and then work through that healing, and try and go through that process of getting help, talking to people. You go through that process, and you heal, and then getting rid of those hurts. Sometimes it hurts to get rid of the hurt, but you have to do it if you really want to walk in your purpose and do what you're called to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard when especially when people look at you now and they're like, oh, you're such a strong person and you're this and you're that, but you have no clue what it took, or where I've been, or the journey I've been to be the person you see in front of you now.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't know everybody's stories. And when I get to hear people's stories, I think it's just so impactful. So, yes, the person that I am today wasn't the person that I was back then. And the person I was back then wasn't that strong, because I really didn't think I needed to be on this earth. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful it didn't work, because now I get to impact other people. And I believe your test is your testimony. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe I went through those things because I'm walking in my purpose now, right? So yeah, that's one of my stories of hurt. I've had a lot more than that, but
I'll say this. I'm glad it didn't work too, because I can be a testimony of you having an impact on a soul that made them better. The world is a better place because you're in it. Because I know I'm in a better place because of you, and my
mhm,
family's in a better place because of me. So from
right.
my family to you, thank you. And I'm glad that it didn't work too. But I know what you're talking about when it comes to ending
Mm,
it all, because I've been in the same position where I want a permanent solution for what I look back on now as a temporary issue, right?
correct.
But it didn't make that temporary issue. It didn't feel temporary when you were going through it.
Right.
So me personally, I always when talking to people, I typically, like, to your point, you never know what someone's going through, because you look at like the Robin Williams of the world that on the surface are awesome, everything's going great, and then the next day they're gone. But if I'm honest with myself, I always know that someone's going through it, about to go through it, or just having gone through it. Like, no matter where I've been in my life, it's always felt like I was either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or going into a storm. So I'm pretty sure that most folks are doing that same thing. And I always like to say that good sailors, like that saying, good sailors aren't created on smooth seas. It takes a choppy sea to create a good sailor. So to your point, when it comes to the strength that you gain, when it comes to the person that you become, it's because of those choppy seas, it's because of those hurts, but it doesn't hurt any less. Like, just if I could be vulnerable and talk about a hurt. I remember when I was younger, and we all have our first love, right?
Yeah.
You meet that first love and you think it's the best thing in the whole world and it changes you completely, and you never thought that you could be the person that you have become with them and never going to find something better. And I remember having thought that I knew it all and lost it.
Mm.
And I didn't lose it like, oh, well, you know, it's a mutual decision. It was one of those like, I was totally caught unprepared, and it just ripped my heart out of my chest. And I was hurt. And I remember going through those thoughts, sitting on the couch, thinking about I should just end it all too.
Mm.
And at the time, it made perfect sense. And I was actually journaling at the time. One of the things that this love of my life at the time had put me onto, journaling. I was never a big journaler, but I guess it was the in thing. And I was all about doing whatever she wanted. And I was journaling and I wrote down so many hurt thoughts when she was gone, and there was this void in my life, in my heart. And it was funny. I ended up coming across those writings. I ended up coming across that journal like 6-7 years later. And I was like, bro, calm down. Like, it is not that serious. Like, geez. And I laughed about it. And everyone told me at the time, you're going to laugh about this. It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. But it didn't feel like that going through it. But I can
Right.
tell you without a shadow of a doubt, right now, having been 10, or 15 years disposed of that song, that God bless the broken road that led me straight to you, was exactly what I needed, because my wife today is the most important thing, best thing that ever happened to me. I look at my son and I think, I can't even think of a life without him.
Right.
And then I look at this letter that said I'd never be the same. I'd never be whole. And I don't even recognize the person who wrote it. I don't recognize that person who didn't believe in himself. I don't recognize that person who thought he was so much less. I don't recognize the person who wrote that letter that could be so hurt and be so convinced that they were so small and so nothing that they could never have the things that I have. And I look at them on a daily basis today. So I thank God for the hurt. If I had to be honest, I wouldn't go back and relive it, because I remember how much it hurts.
Right.
Just like every time I look down at the scar on my hand from touching the stove, I remember the burn.
Right.
But I wouldn't take the scar away in a second, and I wouldn't trade my life in a second. And if it was given the choice to go through that hurt again and get the scar and have everything I had, I'm putting my hand on it again. So I guess I'm here to tell you all that putting your hand on that stove, albeit you wouldn't choose it, is going to give you the scar that's going to allow you to do the things that God has put in your heart, that put in your soul, and be able to accomplish all those big things and big dreams. If you could only get past it, if you can only get from the hurt to the healing, because that's important, right?
Yeah, it's that journey, right? It's trying to get over that hurt. And I don't know, my immediate go-to emotion when I'm hurt is I shut down. Right? So I
Me
totally
too.
shut down. I don't like to see people. I'm not really a crier. It's not that I don't cry. I do, but I'm not really a crier.
Me neither.
But I don't, when I get hurt like that, especially if it's somebody who's really close to me, and somebody who I'm like, I thought you were like my sister or my bro. I thought you were there for me,
Yeah.
and you hurt me.
Yeah.
My immediate emotion is to shut down. Or I'm either going to shut down or I'm going to explode, because it
Yeah.
depends on what you're hurting, right? So I try really hard. I don't like to address things out of emotion, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's good either, because you end up saying things that you probably shouldn't say, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
regret, right? I
Mm-hmm.
do think it needs to be addressed at some point in time, but my immediate, a lot of times, is when I'm hurt, I just shut down.
Yeah.
What do you do when you,
Me,
and that's me being a female, so I don't know, what do you do as a guy when you're hurt? Do you
I'm a
just shut down?
I'm a shutdowner too. I mean, I've heard the thing before, right? When you get into these highly emotional situations, you either
Mhm.
go to one or two emotions. You're either a silence or a violence. Some people are yellers and
Oh,
screamers and criers and freak outers. Other people are withdrawers and quieters
yeah.
and takeawayers, right? I'm
Mhm.
more of the silence than violence. I'm not a violent, crazy, crier, loud type of person. I'm a withdrawal person. But if I'm going to keep it real, my go-to coping mechanism when I'm hurt is self-destruction.
Ooh.
I internalize that hurt and start blaming myself and owning that image of less than. And if I'm not careful, that can be perverted with substance abuse. I could drink a little bit too much to try to dull the pain. I could
Yeah.
start smoking cigarettes and just to have some type of pleasure to forget about it. And if that isn't fixed or healed, I could start believing my BS, my belief system,
Right.
and that I am not who I think that I am, and I ain't ever going to be that. And that gets real dangerous and scary. So it's important to me to recognize and not internalize that hurt that's put on me by these people I love, because, you know, why would they hurt me if I was enough, right? And that I'm not enough emotion and that internalization of your self-worth is really what I have to deal with to start the healing process in the first place.
Wait a minute, Chris. Let's back up for a second, though, because you said something here, though, that I want to go a little bit deeper on. You point blank said that if you're not careful, the person who hurt you, you then start blaming yourself. So you pretty much projected what they did to you, the wrong they did to you. You know it's wrong. They did to you, but you take it and you say, well, no, it's really my fault. I essentially made you do that wrong to me. Okay, so I need to understand this, right? Because that's a lot of control that person got
Yeah.
over your mind and how you feel. How on earth do you get out of that then? How do you talk yourself out of not being the person feeling as though I caused that, I deserve
Yeah.
that, when you know you didn't?
I think it's less I caused that, I deserve that, and more of I'm not enough. Because if I was, it wouldn't have happened in the first place. If I was the type of car that people wanted to drive, if I was a Ferrari, a McLaren, I wouldn't get traded in. If I was the kind of employee that was the best of the best, I wouldn't get laid off. If I was the kind of man that a woman would want and need and deserve, I wouldn't get dumped. So I start making all these justifications why I'm not enough. And that not enoughness is really where it comes from, more than the, I would say, Stockholm syndrome of I'm like making excuses for my abuser, right? Like this person hurt me. It's not them, it's me. It's more, it's all me, and I'm not enough. So I have to fight that, and I have to heal that, and I have to face that head on. And the only way I've found to do that is to really be intentional on repairing my identity. Be intentional about the words that I say to myself, like I'm more than enough. I got this. Be intentional about the disciplines that prove to me more than just average. I could wake up and just wing it during my day and not work hard and beat myself up and sit on that couch and think about ending it all. Or I could wake my butt up earlier than most people do. And I could say affirmations and talk to myself the way I would want to talk to myself intentionally. I could work out and push myself to the brink of physicality so I could prove to myself that I am strong and I am capable. I could live in a place of gratitude and think about all the things that I'm grateful for and make me happy. I could make the world better by treating others the way that I would want to be treated and make sure that they never feel the way I feel. And I could track all this stuff and be intentional about all this stuff. So when that devil pops up and says, you're not enough, I could say, well, wait. I don't know what is enough, but I woke up at 5 o'clock today and I have a mantra right here that I believe that says that I'm more than enough. And actually, if you ask Susie or Billy or Paula, you could tell you, they'll tell you that they're even better spot because of the actions that I put. And where were you when I was in that cold shower and that voice that says, you're going to die, you can't take it? You sounded mighty familiar than the voice that you're using right now. And I said, shut up, I can take it. And that devil just
Come
poofs.
on now.
But it takes some serious action, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's one little tiny step at a time. And at first, I really think that it does take just time and people like you and people like your family and friends and people who love you and care about you to just tell you that you're enough so you can get to that place where maybe you could just pull yourself out of bed and try something hard to give you a little bit more self-confidence. Say, you know what, I look okay today after putting on your best outfit, or help somebody with what they're going through and not fall apart and tell them all about all the things that are going on in your life. So I would say that intentional action towards being your best self, and people that love you and care about you, that pull you up, because there will be a time where you wake up and a legion of negative voices are screaming their unanimous permission that whatever demon's on your shoulder and whatever it's telling you is absolutely right. And you need other folks to pull you out of it. I've been there at work before. You were one of the people that pulled me out of it. So good people surrounding you, and then doing hard stuff intentionally to work on yourself. That's how I repair my identity.
You said a mouthful there, but the thing that I love, because you know I'm huge about this too, is affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people really understand the power of words, for real. Those words that you speak upon yourself and you allow other people to speak at you. You're not going to come at me with some crazy words, because to me, when you speak those things, you manifest them, right? So now you got that out in the atmosphere. No, you got to have that positive, and people are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. People are going to feel that energy off of you. And to your point, it's really hard, but yet it is so simple to just have affirmations, a post-it note or something around where you just say this great thing about you every day.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't do that, and really don't allow people to call you out your name. Don't allow people to talk to you any old kind of way. And don't allow people to do that,
Yep.
even if they're older than you. I understand I was raised, you have to respect your elders, but that doesn't give the elders the right to disrespect me.
Yep.
Right? So this is a respect and a courtesy all the way around, and you need to have that. And I 100% agree. Your tribe is so important. Those people who
Yep.
got your back, but you have to choose that tribe wisely. I
Yep.
just talked about that today in a short that I did on YouTube, talking about you are not alone. And the one thing I said in there is get a tribe behind you, but a tribe that you can trust, and a tribe that will not tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Yep.
And a tribe that's authentic, right? Because you need those people. You don't need people who are just going to condone your crap. You
Yep.
need people who are going to call you out on your
Yeah.
crap and
Yeah.
be like, nah, that's not how you need to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get better, and know it's coming from a place of love, because
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's coming from a place of love. I believe social media has changed that a little bit, because people have been emboldened to just say whatever they want to say on social, not really caring about the impact it has on somebody else.
Yeah.
And you just have to be careful about that. I'm even careful of how I comment on social media, because I guarantee you, this thing called karma, what you put out gonna come, that boomerang effect, what you put out is
Mm-hmm.
gonna come back to you. It may not come to you directly. It might come to your children, your children's children. Do you want to have that on your shoulders? I don't. So I want to be intentional, like you said, and I want to make sure that what I'm speaking is, I speak life to people. That's why, to keeping you wise by keeping it real, that's why we got a tree. The tree represents life, right? You start at the root. That's why we have the tree, because that's what we want to do. We want to get at the root, and we want it to blossom, and we want it to be real. So yeah, that's whoo. You said a whole lot there. But look, let me ask you this question though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you speaking the wisdom tonight.
Hmm.
What is one piece of advice that you would give your past self in the present?
You know, it's funny you asked that, because going back to that, you don't typically. So science has proven this. Science has proven that you really don't remember the things that happened in the past, or at least a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the memory of remembering a memory of remembering a memory of remembering the event. So it's really skewed.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't even know what I would tell my past self, because I can't even remember who my past self was. I remember what I think I remember about my past self, but I say that to say I actually have a record of what my past self was thinking in the moment when I read that journal.
Mm.
In saying things like, I can't believe she left. I'll never love again. I caused this. I should have done X. I should have been more of that. I should have been less of Y. I know what I was thinking. And the thing is, if I had to give myself some advice, first and foremost, I probably wouldn't do any more than what you just said, which is being that good friend and just give myself a hug. More than advice. You just needed a hug right there, bro, because you were broken. But if I could like Jedi mind trick myself into doing anything, I would tell myself to be careful of the beliefs and the faith and the words that you speak over yourself. Because to your point, words are powerful and they matter.
They do.
There's a reason why in the beginning there was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The power of life and death is in the tongue. There's a reason why they say these things in spiritual texts. Because it's true. It's energy, it's vibration, it's faith. And if I have faith that I was nothing, and if I had faith that it's never going to work out, and if I have faith even today that anything may necessarily be true, I'm not going to get a raise, I'm not going to become stronger, I'm never going to lose the weight, I'm never going to kick the addiction, I'm never going to get and find the spouse, the afford the house, whatever it may be. It's like, okay, the universe, God, Allah, Krishna, whatever you want to call it, has a good track record of saying, Roger that. If you believe it, here you go. Your wish is my command. So I would tell myself, be careful of the things that you believe. Be careful of the words that you speak, and be intentional about the words that you speak and the thoughts that you entertain, because what you focus on expands, and what you speak has an amazing power of manifesting physical things in your reality. So be careful.
Wow. So I got a question. So Chris, you've known me for a while. So I got a question for you.
Hit me.
What's a question you want to ask me that you haven't asked me yet? When it comes to this topic, from hurt to healing.
You know, I would love to get your advice. What you would tell a person who's sitting in the audience right now who's hurt, who doesn't want to hear it, because you have a beautiful way of getting to people. Like you got to me so many times when I was in a spot and I was comfortable in that spot. I was in a hurt spot, and hurt is comfortable. It hurts, but at least it's familiar.
Right.
So what would you tell somebody to get out of that hurt spot and get to healing? Any advice?
You know, the first question I would ask them is, are you sick and tired yet? Because when you really get to the point of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you want to make a move. You said something right there. People tend to stay in their comfort zone. They tend to stay what's comfortable. And you also said something earlier when you talked about hurt on how you mask it. So you do things to not deal with it. Right. That gives you that temporary relief, but it doesn't solve the long-term problem. So this is what I would say. Start to get sick and tired, because what you're actually doing is you're prolonging the hurt, where if you could just break through that and get that breakthrough, on the other side of that, there's so much beauty and so much strength and so much more that you can do. And also, somebody is probably waiting for you to break through so that you can help them break through.
That's a good point.
And so the longer you stay there, the longer you got this other person staying there too, because they need you. You don't even know it. How many times have we encountered people, or we've interacted with people? I know you have, I know I have, where you didn't even realize you said something to them that they needed to hear right at that time to motivate them to do better. And you don't even realize it. You come back and you hear about it maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later. You didn't realize that that encounter that you had with that person impacted that person that way. But the only reason you could impact that person that way is because you dealt with yourself. And you took care of yourself first, and you dealt with the issues that you had first. There's a reason why I take the last 2 weeks of the year off intentionally. It's a non-negotiable for me. And the reason I do it is because I need time to decompress and to do self-introspection and self-reflection.
Right.
And there are sometimes I don't like what I see.
Really?
There are sometimes I don't like what I see because I didn't do what I said I was going to do for me personally or whatnot, I don't beat myself up over it,
Mm-hmm.
but I do come to terms with it. And then I figure out, what do I need to change, right? And a lot of times we're holding on to hurts because we just don't want to let go. We hold
Right.
on to relationships that we know are no good for us, that we know
Right.
are toxic, that are
Right.
doing us no good. But for some reason, we still have that glimmer of hope. I can change this person.
Mm-hmm.
I can make this person better. The only way
Yeah.
that person's going to get better is if they decide to get better. I don't care how much you do. If they don't want it, it's not going to work. But yet
Yeah.
and still, you put all that energy there. And sometimes you just need to break that tie. And sometimes
Yep.
you just need to let it go and move on. So just know that your life is more than just you. Just know that your life impacts more people than just you. And so that's what I always keep in my mind. Who am I holding back? Because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I stopping? Because I'm not doing now. I will say that what I'm not saying is just because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you're not going to fulfill what you're supposed to be doing. There are other ways to get stuff done, right?
Right. Right.
But if you think about it, is that you're not in this alone, and we are connected in different ways with certain people. That does help you get out of that rut, get out of that thing, because it's more than just you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bigger impact than just you. And so it's just thinking about those things, and that's what I would say to get out of her. It's hard though, because when you're in that dark hole, when you're going through depression and anxiety and all of that stuff, you're trying to get out of that. It's not easy. Sometimes it's hard to just roll out of bed and just get up and do something for the day. I get
Yep.
that. Been there, done that. I get that. But that's where it comes back to your tribe. And where when you have people who really truly love you and care for you, who'll be like, no, Paula, you got to get up. No, Chris, we're
Yeah.
going to get up. We're going to
Yeah.
go take this walk. You're
Yeah.
going to be mad with me right now. You're probably not going to like me right now, but you're going to appreciate me later because
Exactly.
I know your value. I know your impact. I know why you're here. And I want others to experience that. And they can't experience that if you stay in this state, right? And so it's just really pushing out. And I'm neither Chris nor I are saying it's easy. It's a
Mm-mm.
journey. It's
Mm-mm.
hard. We're not
Mm-hmm.
saying it's easy, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to get your mind right. Just like you get your mind right with everything else, you got to get that mind right, and you have to make that decision, and you have to be consistent, you have to be committed, and you have to be disciplined. And you have to have someone hold you accountable that you really trust to help you
Mm-hmm.
get out of that rut. So that's what I would say to somebody who's out there hurting today. Stop trying to handle it on your own,
Yep.
because you can't. You cannot do this thing called life on your own. I haven't been able to yet, and I haven't
Yep.
heard anybody been able to yet.
Nope.
You can't do it on your own.
Nope.
But do try and find someone who can help you. Even if you do have to get a medical professional, they're out there. Get
Mm-hmm.
with somebody who can help you get out of that, because we need you. We need your skills. We need your value. We need your talents. We need your impact. We need you. You are needed. If nobody's told you that, I'm telling you tonight, you are needed. We need you. And so let's just love and respect and help each other. I mean, can we just get back to that?
Right.
Where did that go?
Right. Paula, this is why I appreciate you. This is why I love you. You always hit it the nail on the head. We do need you. And you're more than enough right as you are.
Right.
And don't be scared to hit somebody up, to Paula's point, and be vulnerable. And if you are terrified of being vulnerable with that person, hit them up and tell them how much you appreciate them and show some gratitude towards them, and maybe show that emotion. It's the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be hitting them up being like, oh, I'm going through it. I need you to. That might be a lot. That might be working, right?
Right.
But hit them up. Tell them how much you appreciate them. Thank them for how much they've done for you. And if you don't have anybody like that, to Paula's point, find a professional you could talk to just listen and create a bond with them. And just don't go through it. It's better for a tribe to hurt all a little bit than for you to hurt alone a lot.
Ooh,
So,
I like that.
Yeah, you know.
I like that. I
But
really
Paula,
like that.
Any last words? This was a hit.
Yeah, this was good. I like this. This is a great way for me to just end my day, because my day was so busy. I don't think I have any last words, Chris. You nailed it right there. If anything, both of us are saying we need you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're needed. And if you feel that you're not needed, we're telling you today, you are needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if nobody's ever told you that, you are worth it.
Yep.
You are worthy.
Mm-hmm.
You add value. You have impact. So let's go forth and conquer. My theme for 23 is let's be free in 23. I'm all about it. So let's get rid of all those chains, those shackles, those distractions, those things that aren't adding value to your life. Let's break away from all of that. Self-limiting beliefs, self-sabotage. Get rid of it all. And let's be free so that we can really start making the positive impact we want to on this world and with the people that we encounter. I think that would be my parting words for this session tonight.
Well, Paula, I think that's a wrap. I hope everyone who is listening will listen, takes what we said to heart.
Right.
And create some type of action. Do something. Do something positive. Reach out to someone you love. Get some help. Realize that you're more than enough.
Right.
Do something hard. Show yourself that you're not made of glass and you're not going to fall apart.
Right.
And more than anything, hit that like button, subscribe, come back next time. If I'm gonna keep it real, because we like talking to you. So thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to talk to you. And Paula, to your point, anytime I do like public speaking, right? Talk to a group, do a podcast, do something like that. Everyone says, aren't you nervous? Like, what if the audience doesn't like you? And it's like 90% of the audience ain't even paying attention. The 8% hate me, but there's that 1 or 2%, which is my tribe.
Right.
So to our tribe, not to you haters that disagree, not to you people that aren't paying attention, not to you ones that want to leave snide comments, but to the 1 or 2 people that it touched you, like we got you. And know that you're more than enough. Mm-hmm. And know that we're in this crazy thing called life with you. So
that's right.
With that being said, wrap it up and we'll talk to you next week, right, Paula?
Next month. Look, don't put us on next week now. I'm not ready.
Talk to you next month.
Thank you, everyone. Paula and your boy Solo signing off from keeping you wise by keeping it real. See you next month.